University has called on the university's minister to defend her freedom of speech following claims that her invite to speak to civil servants was cancelled because of a tweet that she wrote criticising the Home Secretary Priti Patel.
Well, Professor Priyambavada Gopal has been invited to speak this week to the Home Office officials on the links between the department's policies and recent colonial history, including the recent Windrush nationality scandal. But Gopal said that the invitation was withdrawn at the weekend.
Yes, well, joining us to discuss this now is Rebecca Butler, who is a volunteer advocate for the Free Speech Union. Thank you very, very much. What's gone on here, then, in your opinion? Is the freedom of speech dead?
No, freedom of speech is alive, and people like Priyambada benefit from freedom of speech. She is perfectly entitled to, to talk as much as she likes about her anti-British, anti-colonial views, and nobody stops her. What has happened in this particular case, and I think it was Guido Fawkes that was instrumental in it, is that some fairly, shall we say, on the margins speakers are going into the civil service and informing them how they need to think in government. And Guido Fawkes has highlighted the fact that Priyambada has made some fairly edgy tweets about Priti Patel. Now, she writes for The Guardian, and we know The Guardian itself has put out a cartoon of Priti Patel, you know, the image of the sacred cow with the ring in her nose. So actually, I would say that freedom of speech is alive and well because people are entitled to do that as much as they're entitled on the other side to criticise them for it.
Yeah, and isn't it quite bizarre that she's calling on the university's minister? I mean, this is something related to an invitation to the Home Office. This hasn't necessarily got anything to do with freedom of speech or academic freedom when it comes to university campuses.
Well, I mean, what she's saying is, I think, is that she is an academic and therefore she shouldn't be no platformed when she is being invited to speak to the civil service. So it is a bit of a reversal because normally we see academics no platforming people whose views they don't like. So there is a bit of justice here in that an academic has been cancelled for their views. And you know what? Her views are pretty out there, frankly, and her views, particularly against Priti Patel, for some reason, are very, very strong. But, you know, Priyambada is entitled to say what she does, but the invitation by the civil service has been withdrawn. And you know what? I think there is a bigger question here is that as a taxpayer, are we happy that the civil service thinks it's appropriate to spend our money on all of these courses that civil servants who, let's face it, they're all from Oxbridge as well, that civil servants are invited to attend echo chambers, and people like Priyambada, and there are others, are invited to speak to them. Is that a good use of taxpayers' money? Because by the same token, and I know you have covered this, and Patrick, you have discussed this in the past, Stonewall actually offers a badge for people who offer the courses from Stonewall. So this is all monetized, by the way. And if you get a tick from Stonewall, you know, you can put it on your website to say that you're LGBTQ plus whatever, authorized by Stonewall. Why are we spending money on this? You know, we've got a pandemic, we've got an economic crisis. Why does anybody care? As Calvin said, nobody cares really. You know, the man on the Clapham omnibus couldn't give a damn, what you call a woman, and really doesn't care in life. And why are our civil servants even exposed to this? It's just complete nonsense. But you know what? If Priyambada has an issue with this, she's perfectly entitled to come to the Free Speech Union and she will be represented by one of us if she feels she's been no platformed, because this is absolutely where we do our thing at the Free Speech Union. She's more than welcome to join up and come and speak to us.
And also, Rebecca, doesn't this always show that actually if you try and shut down the speech of others, it eventually comes back to you? Mrs. Gopal has been very critical, very strongly critical. She compared Dr. Tony Sewell following the CRED report, saying that even Goebbels had a research PhD. And she's been very strong with her language and often celebrating the shutting down of speech and cancellation of other people. Isn't this a lesson that actually oftentimes if you support curbs on freedom of speech, it eventually comes back round to you?
Absolutely. What's sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. And so now she's on the sharp end of it. And as I said earlier, it is unusual that we have an academic being no platformed as opposed to doing the no platforming. So yes, I mean, as I've said, her views are quite outrageous and offensive, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how offended I am personally. It is still free speech. She's got to live with it. You know, we do deal with no platforming at the Free Speech Union, and we would say to her, you have as much right to spout your nonsense and to spout your vile hatred and, you know, your views of white people in Britain as the next person. So, you know, we don't hold back on free speech. And as I've said earlier, the very fact that she can be on Twitter and put her views out demonstrates that free speech is alive and well. So yeah, left, right, whatever color you are, you have a right to freedom of expression in this country, and the Free Speech Union will defend that right in all circumstances.
Well, thank you, Rebecca Butler, volunteer advocate for the Free Speech Union. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, yes. I mean, it's only a matter of time, presumably, before I am requiring their services, you would have thought. But anyway, moving away now from that, a well-known Anglican bishop